All rise. We will be. Please be seated. Waive as
Thank you very much, witness. Welcome back. And Mr. Khan, how much time are you expecting to spend with the witness? Ordinarily, I would have asked you this anyway, but there's something else that has arisen relating to the next witness. Apparently, there's some pending procedural issue to be attended to. You know what I'm talking about? A matter of redaction or non-redaction,
yes,
non-redaction of certain disclosure material. Now, if we went in the ordinary course and to do it by written submissions, it will take away more time. So our preference would be to take oral submissions on that issue, and we would like to do it today in good time. So you will need to organize your cross-examination so that you finish in time to allow us time to take in the oral submissions.
Your Honour, I'll proceed accordingly, mindful of that issue to be dealt with today. And Your Honour, we can go into, we are in public session, we can continue in public session.
In public session. But what I'm saying is...
would half an hour at the end of the day be enough?
That may not be enough. Mr. Pugliati, who will be taking the next witness? Mr. Steinberg, I take it.
Mr. Steinberg is not present for this session, but he'll be back in court for the last session, ready to address the bench on the issue that Your Honour is referring to. And the next witness will be taken by our colleague, Ms. Lara Renton.
Right. But at any rate, it would be safe, Mr. Khan, if we could try and put aside 1 hour at the end of the day to deal with that issue.
Your Honour, I will do that. I wonder if it's also possible just to have a little bit of a leeway if the lunch break could be shortened by half an hour, so we have an hour's lunch break. In any event, I'll try to be mindful, but I'd rather not rush at the end if I don't manage to finish.
All right. We will then keep in mind your request for a shortened lunch hour.
I'm grateful.
All right. Please proceed.
Witness. Before you submitted your form to the Victim and Witness Unit of the ICC, you had not made any complaint to any of the authorities in Kenya. Is that right? And witness, if you could be so kind as to repeat your answer.
Ilikuwa bado.
So, to be clear, you didn't go to the police and make any allegations about your loss or your suffering then, in 2007?
kuna penye nilikuwa nimeenda.
You went to a police station and reported matters, did you?
Mr. President, I apologise for interrupting. Our concern is that perhaps out of caution this could be done privately.
Your Honour, I'll come back to that issue, and we can stay in public with your leave. Witness, the Waki Commission in Kenya received massive coverage. Is that right?
Sikuwa na kitu cha kunipasha habari.
Mr. Nderitu?
Yes, thank you, Mr. President, Your Honours. There is a specific reference to the Waki Commission which did not come out in the interpretation.
Witness, you've heard of the Waki Commission that investigated, or tried to investigate, the causes of the post-election violence in 2007. Is that right?
Vile nilisikia ndio nilienda kujiandikisha.
You didn't give any statement to the Waki Commission, did you?
Ni hivyo.
You didn't go to you didn't go to the Kenya National Commission for Human Rights, did you, to complain?
Na wakati nimekutana na hawa.
Okay, if you can stop there. Okay. I think, don't give names, Mr. Witness, but if you're just going to speak about an organisation, it may be their honours will allow you to answer.
With respect, we submit that even the details of such meetings should be conducted privately.
I'm not asking for specifics. Let me put it differently. Witness, did you ever give a statement to the Kenya National Commission for Human Rights? Yes or no?
Sikupatiana.
And so, witness, the first time you made a formal complaint, so to speak, was in 2011, middle of 2011, when you filed papers with the victim and witness unit of this court. Is that right?
Ni hivyo.
And about 6 months before you did that, on the 15th of December 2010, you would have heard with great publicity that the former prosecutor of the ICC had named his so-called Ocampo 6. You heard that, didn't you, in Kenya?
Nilikuwa nimesikia.
And specifically, you heard that the former prosecutor made public his application for a summons against Mr. William Ruto, the Honourable Henry Koski, and Mr. Joshua Sang. You heard about that, didn't you?
Nilisikia hiyo.
Did you hear that there was the...
Mr. Khan, before you continue, please. Witness the one point of counsel's question, or questions in that regard, is that you heard all that 6 months before you made a complaint to the ICC victims unit, or before you completed your victim's application. You heard about Campo's case against Mr. Sang and Mr. Ruto 6 months before your victim's application. Is that the case?
Siwezi nikajua siku sana, lakini nilisikia.
If you can't remember the date, did you hear about the case Mr. Ocampo brought against Mr. Ruto and Mr. Sang? Did you hear about that case before you made your victim's application?
Ndio, nilikuwa nimesikia.
Mr. Khan, proceed.
And Mr. Witness, you also heard that there was the possibility of getting money. Isn't that right?
Sio hivyo.
You wanted money. You wanted money as a result of your evidence, didn't you?
Sio hivyo.
Were you told that if Mr. William Ruto was convicted by this court, you would stand to receive reparations? You would stand to receive money? Did you know that or not?
Sikuwa najua.
Your Honour, I refer the bench to question 34 of the victim application signed and submitted by the witness. And witness, let me read what question 33, 34 say. You are asked whether the victim would like to apply for reparations, and it's ticked yes. And then the next question, if yes, what would the victim want? And you've submitted a form saying, one word, finances. That's what you wanted, isn't it, witness? You wanted money.
Mr. Can, the question needs to be fair, though. In what context would that have occurred? First of all, when did he hear about the possibility of reparation? And also, is the idea of reparation such a dirty word or a dirty idea for a witness or a victim, somebody who say they were a victim of the PEV?
Your Honour, I don't want to make submissions at the moment. Of course, reparations are not a dirty word if they flow from truthful testimony. But if that's the objective of testimony, to receive money, and it results in untruthful testimony, it's a perversion of the course of justice. Witness, perhaps I can put it...
And it is the latter proposition you're interested in, isn't it? For purposes of your exercise, that the testimony was untruthful, and that's what we need to demonstrate.
Indeed, I'm grateful. Witness, when you signed this form, when you completed this form, you stated that if Mr. William Ruto, Honourable Henry Koski, and Mr. Joshua Arap Sang were convicted, you would want something to be done. Do you remember saying that?
Mr. President, before the witness answers that, could I ask my learned friend to point out to the court where in the application form the witness is said to have said that if Mr. Ruto, Mr. Kosgei and Mr. Sang were convicted, that he would seek those reparations? I'm interested in that quote.
Your Honour, it flows from Your Honour's question about what is reparations, and it's a matter that I don't need to tutor my learned friend in, that reparations under the clear language of the statute only come if there's a conviction. But Your Honour, I can put the question differently.
Yeah, Mr. Puliati's worry was that your question said you stated. If you're putting it as if it's something the witness stated.
Witness, you were asked if you would like to apply for reparations. Isn't that right?
Sio hivyo.
You were asked if you wanted something to be done as compensation for what you say you had suffered. Is that not right?
Sio hivyo.
And you said very clearly, after you ticked the box yes, you said what you wanted was finances. Is that not true?
Sio hivyo.
And when you were asked at question 35, Ken OTP 0107-0223, when you were asked if reparations are ordered, who does the victim want the benefit to go to? You said you wanted the benefits to go to you, didn't you?
Sio hivyo.
You didn't tick the box that said the reparations, the benefit should go to your family. You're very clear. You want the money to go to you. That's right, is it not? I'm looking at the form witness. Is that right or not?
Sio hivyo.
And witness, when you were asked at question 29, can OTP -0107-0222, you were asked who do you believe was responsible for the events that took place. You said Henry Koske, didn't you?
Rudia.
You were asked this question at question 29 of the form you signed and submitted, witness. Who does the victim believe is responsible for the event or events? If possible, explain why the victim believes this. Do you remember being asked that question in the form? Do you remember giving an answer to that question?
Lezi nikakumbuke.
And witness, the judges and the prosecution have this form. It wasn't created by us. And your answer is this. You said Henry Koske. You believed Henry Koske to be responsible. Do you remember saying that?
Sikumbuki kama nilisema hiyo.
And you explained why you believed it, and you said in a rally he asked the residents to pluck out the non-residents. Do you remember saying that in your form?
Nilisema hivyo.
Yes. And the point is this, witness, that you make no mention at all of Mr. William Ruto, do you?
Nilisema.
Mr. President, I'm always loath to interject in the course of questioning from a colleague, but perhaps it would assist everyone in the court if it was clarified with the witness whether he filled out the form himself, whether he had assistance or not. And I understand he's confirmed it's his signature, but the manner in which questions are put where it's said that he said this or he said that, perhaps the witness could, if he was able to clarify that, or if questions were asked in a way once that's been clarified, it might result in answers that are clearer for all concerned.
Your Honour, I think my learned friend's predisposition to be loath to interrupt is born from experience and is well placed because, particularly when one is a prosecutor, as my learned friend is, we are trying to look at the interests of justice. And sometimes interjections can alert a witness to certain lines. Your Honour, I'm not finished with this topic, and I'd ask that I be allowed to continue. This document, of course, comes through, there's a legal representative of the victims here. It comes not from the defence, but through official ICC channels. It's been submitted from the witness. Your Honour, I can take the witness to the actual document, but given what was announced at the beginning of his testimony for the first time, after all this time, I don't think that will serve much of a purpose. So in my respectful submission, I should be able to continue with this exercise. Your Honours, at the end of the day, will assign what, if any, weight to the points I'm endeavouring to make. I will be dealing with those matters.
This is not one of those clear-cut issues or straight-out objections that are correct or not. Mr. Pugliati is, in a sense, urging you to be mindful of fairness in the sense of there's an underlying current about the completion of a document that need to be kept in mind for you to do so. I did not want to insert myself in the matter, but keep that in mind.
Your Honour, I will, and I will be coming to that. My caution to my learned friend was not that he wasn't entitled to object, but it would be sufficient in those circumstances to simply say the circumstances under which the statement was submitted may be explored. But if one goes further, sometimes it's rather unhelpful or rather helpful to the witness when it shouldn't be. Your Honour, I will be dealing with those matters.
Yes, except that the thing Mr. Pugliati's concern was perhaps the way the question has been asked of the matter so far did not indicate that those circumstances might have been taken into account. But now that we've addressed the matter, proceed.
I'm most grateful. That's my last question. Mr. Witness, the first time you mentioned the name Mr. William Ruto is when the case against Henry Koski had been thrown out by judges of this court. Isn't that right?
Sio hivyo.
And witness, are you aware that the name William Ruto does not appear in your victim application form at all? Are you aware of that?
Siwezi kama nikajua.
Now, witness, also, along with your victim application form, was a short statement that you made. Do you remember submitting that with your victim application form? It's a manuscript, rather long, 3 and a quarter pages of manuscript handwriting, in which you give details about what you've suffered. Do you remember that?
Nakumbuka.
And I want to ask you some questions about that. And the first one is, in fact, the first one may have to be in private for just perhaps 1 minute or 2 minutes. Your Honour, I'm not going to cover all the aspects of the statement. There's a lot of issues I could take. I'll try to focus on just a couple. Your Honour, the first one in private, please.
Private session.
Nous sommes en audience publique, Monsieur le Président.
And witness, on the second page of that handwritten document that's added to your victim application, and it's the third paragraph. You say this: ODM chairman of the area, Aramoi, Aramoi, also said they didn't hear that the minister, Koski, Henry, had earlier visited the area on a rally and asked the residents why they were allowing the grass to grow in the house, brackets in Kalenjin language. The chairman echoed his words in the same language and asked them to go back to their native land. Do you remember giving that answer when you were submitting your victim application form?
Sijalipata hiyo swali kwa njia mzuri.
Do you remember being interviewed by the prosecution in 2012? It was over 3 days, I believe. Towards the end of 2012. Do you remember being interviewed?
Ndio niliojiwa.
And the investigators showed you your victim application, the handwritten document I've been discussing, didn't they?
Na maandishi nilionyeshwa, lakini sijui kama ni penye unasoma.
Witness the prosecution here and the legal representative of the victims here. It's the same document. Shall I put it, in fact, Your Honours, it can go confidentially perhaps on the screen. I've got no objections if that's the case. And the document, the first page I think may suffice. Ken OTP.
For what purpose, though?
Your Honour, just if he wants to, if it will assist him recognising it's the same document he was shown by the prosecution in 2012 for that purpose.
We not just send him. Well, if it is on the screen, somebody can show it to him. It may also be more effective to hand him a paper copy of it, see if he recognizes it.
Yes, we can do that, Your Honour.
Because they would not have showed him a screen at the time.
Your Honour, I think we don't have a clean copy. Oh, my learned friend does. Thank you to Mr. Bossack, as always. And Mr. Sang. And Mr. Sang. A witness, and for the court record, I'm the witness has been handed the handwritten portion of the victim application form from page 0226, Ken OTP 0107 0226 until the end of that document. Witness, that's the document you were shown when you met the prosecution towards the end of 2012, is that right?
Siamini kama ni hiyo, sababu ile nilijaza ilikuwa ni form.
Okay, witness, let me give you the full document, and then we'll go through the pages together. And Your Honour, with your leave, we'll hand up the whole of the documents received by way of prosecution disclosure, the relevant part of the application, Ken OTP 0107-0218, until the end of that form, handwritten form, which is at 0229. Now, witness, please feel at ease, and you can turn perhaps, well, look at the first page. That's a form, is it not? Please, witness, do you want to answer something?
Yes, witness.
Ningependa kuomba kwa sababu siku nilijaza hiyo form nilikuwa naandikiwa na niliambiwa siwezi nikaandike ama nikasome. Sasa siwezi nikadhibitishe ni hiyo ama ni la. Ndio ombi langu.
Does this form or a copy of it look generally like what you were shown at the time? We've noted what you've said about your ability to read or write, but are you able to recognize the looks of the form generally?
Nakumbuka.
And you were asked questions by the prosecution regarding what you stated in the handwritten application form, were you not?
Ndio.
Ron, I'm happy to hand up to the bench because we didn't provide. The reason you're trying to forget the name Arap Moi is because you know it's ludicrous to say that Arap Moi was echoing what Henry Koskei said. You know that's ridiculous, don't you?
Mr. Khan, is that the only inference to be drawn from that?
Your Honor, let me move on. We can argue these in closing submissions. Witness, you never mentioned William Ruto at all until there was no chance of you being involved in the case against Henry Koske, because there was no Henry Koske charged before the ICC. Isn't that right?
Sio hivyo.
You know that former President Arap Moi was supporting the PNU in 2007. You came to realize that, didn't you?
Sikujua.
And when you were screened, when you were interviewed by the prosecution, and you're on its tab 57, Ken OTP 00860189, again towards the latter part of 2012. But do you remember speaking to the prosecution for the first time in 2012? Do you remember that? Your Honor, I'm happy to give the date if it doesn't cause my friends difficulties, but perhaps it's better not to. A witness, do you remember that? You spoke for about 2.5 hours.
Siwezi nikajua masaa ambayo nilizungumza.
Yes. But you remember speaking to them, don't you?
Yeah.
And you said, and it's page 0190, that at the Nandi Hill Stadium it was Mr. William Ruto that spoke first, and it was Henry Koske that was supporting him, didn't you?
Sio hivyo.
And it wasn't an accidental slip, because in relation to the Kapchorwa rally, again you said it was Mr. Koske that was supporting what Ruto was saying, didn't you?
Sikusema hivyo.
And you've changed things around when you gave your statement and decided suddenly you'll say that it was William Ruto speaking last and Mr. Koske that was speaking first. So you changed your story, didn't you, witness?
Sikubadilisha.
And in this prosecution document, the victim application, you said it was Arap Moi that was repeating the words of Henry Koske. You did not say it was William Ruto repeating those words, didn't you?
Sio hivyo.
And in the screening, in relation to the third rally, you say that you told the prosecution investigators that Mr. Ruto, all Mr. Ruto said, was do the job that we have asked you to do. That's the sum total of the words that you attribute to Mr. Ruto when you spoke to the investigators of the OTP for the first time. Is that not right?
Hivyo.
Yes. And in fact, when you give your statement to the prosecution, and Your Honours, it's the statement that I've referred to previously, the final statement, Ken OTP 0080-0346 at page 0355 at paragraph 64. All you say, all you attribute to Mr. Ruto is he wanted us to do the job. He had not already told us to do. I did not think he meant just vote. That's all you said, isn't it, in your statement?
Ni hivyo.
Nothing about weeds, trees, chasing people away. Nothing about that in relation to the Matete rally. Isn't that the case?
Kupata mzuri.
Well, Your Honour, I'm trying to deal with a certain block. I can move on with the court's leave. Witness. You're not working at the moment, are you?
Yeah.
Who's paying for your housing? Let me just put it differently. You're receiving money from the ICC for your housing. Is that right?
Sio hivyo.
Have the ICC Victim and Witness Unit arranged for your housing in any way?
Kuna msaada wananisaidia.
Could you tell the... Yes. I'm grateful for that. This assistance, is it in financial? Do you receive finances or do you get other kinds of assistance?
Nimesema hakuna msaada ambao wananisaidia.
Are you getting any support from the Victim and Witness Unit of the ICC?
Hapana.
Are you getting any assistance for your children's schooling from the Victim and Witness Unit of the ICC?
Hakuna msaada yoyote ambayo ninapata.
So no financial aid, no support, whether it's food, accommodation, housing, health, medical, anything at all you're not receiving from the Victim and Witness Unit of the ICC.
Kuna msaada wote ambao wananisaidia.
Now I'm going to ask you a question, witness, but don't give me a name if there is a name to give. Are you receiving any assistance from any other person on behalf of the ICC?
Kuna mtu yeyote ambaye ananipa msaada.
And just one question on that topic. Are you receiving any support, assistance, help from any organization?
Hakuna shirika ambalo linanisaidia.
Your Honor, could you go into private session, please?
Private session.